In today's episode of the podcast, and all this week, in fact, we are thinking about Youier well-being. I am your host, Elle Edwards, founder of the Faith and Business Playground, and I'm bringing you coaching, training, and this podcast to help you embrace your inner weirdo so you can make Jesus CEO in your life and business. And of course, if you need help with this, if there's a particular area of your life where you know you need to get Youier, I would invite you to schedule a time for us to talk about it. faithandbusinessplayground.com/talk. Because there's nothing I love talking about more and helping you with more than you being you. It really gets me excited and out of bed in the morning. So that's my invitation to you. But on with today's episode of the podcast. Now, as I was sitting down and preparing this week's episodes, all these different Bible verses kept popping in my mind. Given that this is the Faith and Business podcast, that's probably quite encouraging. But you'll notice this week I have some really clear Bible verses for you. So I'm going to read some of those as we go along. But today, this very first episode, I am calling this the "And on the seventh day God rested." And I can imagine you can very easily go, oh yeah, Elle, that's Genesis. I'm going to read it to you though. It's Genesis 2, verse 2. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Now, as I was reading that, probably for the first time ever, I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I imagine you probably have. If we read our Bibles quite a lot, we go through perhaps spells where we read it more than others, but there are certain passages of the Bible that can become very familiar. And this creation account is one of those passages. But what I really love is when we read something and then all of a sudden something springs to our eyes that we've never noticed before. Because what I noticed as I was reading this prior to hitting record was that little bit. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested. Now, I suspect as I was reading that, I was thinking, oh, goodness me, if somebody was listening to that and was to take that very literally, they could use that verse as an excuse not to rest yet. Because by the seventh day, God had finished the work, so he rested. So the logic will go, okay, I'm doing the work, I haven't finished yet, so I can't rest yet. And so I want to remind you that actually that's not true. And there's also a side note to this as well, I guess. God had a very clear beginning, middle, and end to the creation process. I mean, he's God. So in terms of planning things out, you want to think he's got it nailed. He knows what he's doing. But it's the reminder to us that actually all too easily, our to-do lists can expand and grow, and we never really get done. So if you're waiting for your work to be done, to follow God's example, if you want to rest once you finish the work, you need to know what the work looks like. You need to be giving the work, whatever that is, a clear beginning, middle, and end. Because if your work is just one continuous, never-ending to-do list, you're never going to be done, and you're never therefore going to go, right, okay, it's time to rest now. So that's one part of it. And I would remind you, I wrote a little book on this. This keeps coming up a lot, actually. I always feel like God is reminding me about that little book, because it's at the time of recording, it's just over a year since I published it, but I don't talk about it very often. But a little book called Happily Ever After. And it's a goal-setting book, but there's also guidance on there on how you actually can structure your day-to-day so that you can be done. So if that's something that you need help with, I will put a link to the show notes to where you can download that, because it's actually available free on Amazon on Kindle. Or just go onto Amazon, type in Happily Ever After Elle Edwards, and you'll find it. Magic. But that's an aside, really. But it's that reminder that in order for our work to be done, we need to have a clear beginning, middle, and end. The other part of that, and the reason why I started with this verse, because we are thinking about well-being. And so much like last week, if you've been listening along, you'll have heard that I reached out to my community, my lovely little Faith and Business Playground group on Facebook. The ladies and gentlemen in there are marvelous. And the very first person to comment, when I asked, okay, what do you do for well-being? And my friend Lara said, I am the queen of napping. I love napping. And I got to say, I agree with her there. There's nothing I love more than a good nap. It just refreshes the soul. But it's this reminder at the start of this week and all this week, we're going to be looking at well-being in the widest possible sense of the word. I'm not just talking about your physical well-being. We're going to be thinking about your mental well-being as well. All of it, because, body, spirit, soul, all of it is connected. And I've told you before, if you're a long-time listener, about the very real physical symptoms I had when I had an email to tell me that Give a Brick, the charity we founded, this is going back years ago, that it didn't get registered charity status. I got very real physical symptoms. And then I sent an email and they said, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. And then immediately the symptoms went. And that was proof, if ever I needed it, that actually our minds really do control our body. So all of this week, we are talking well-being in the biggest and widest sense of the word, because all of it is connected and all of it is really important. But of course, my thing is about Youier well-being. So you being you, the person that God made you to be. There is nobody like you, and you are here for such a time as this. God knew that you would be here today, right now, this moment, listening to this. And there is a plan and a purpose and a you-shaped hole in this world that we need filled with you showing up, all you. And how that relates to well-being is that there is no one size fits all. So just like Lara and myself, we love to nap. There are other people who, and I've got friends who, if they were to nap in the middle of the day, it would completely wreck their sleep patterns at night. So what's good for one person isn't good for somebody else. However, God, in his infinite wisdom, rested on the seventh day. And there's something special about having one day. And, in the Bible, they had certain things that they did. The Jews, they very clearly celebrated the Sabbath. But, this day and age, some people have to work on a Sunday, so it doesn't necessarily need to look the way that for you, the way it looks for somebody else. But that reminder from God that actually rest is important, that your work needs a clear beginning, middle, and end, and then rest. You don't need to go all of the time. You don't need to go. Rest. I would also advocate for a mini Sabbath at the end of every day. It would be wonderful to get to the end of the day, know that you are done, and draw a line under it, close a lid on it. I'm thinking of the lid of my laptop. That's why I say lid, because that's the trouble as well. Is if we have home offices, it's all too easy. And I'm guilty of this. I'll put my hands up to it. It's very easy to slip back. Oh, I didn't quite do that, and I'll just do this. Oh, I didn't quite do that. I'll just do this. No, one of the things I am working on is having a very clear, okay, 3 p.m. I leave to pick up the children from school. That's it. My work day is done. And trusting that, okay, God helping me, the things that I need to get done, I can get done in that time frame, and everything else can wait till tomorrow. I'm not a done deal. It's a work in process, but that for me is what that would look like. But I would encourage you today, think about what it looks like within the context of your day-to-day life, how you do your work, what that resting would look like. And if you don't already, I would encourage you to start thinking about how you can reclaim the weekend, or ideally 2 days, but at least a day where you can really step away and rest, be refreshed, and lifted up and encouraged, because God really did set that precedent. He set that precedent for us very clearly right at the beginning of the Bible. That's my reminder for you today. And of course, like I've already said, if this idea of you being you is challenging, if you know that you are ready to step up, make Jesus CEO of your life and business, because ultimately, I believe that you being you is the absolute way that you can live slap bang in the middle of God's will for you. So if you need help with that, if you'd like to talk about what that might look like, a reminder of faithandbusinessplayground.com/talk. And let's explore what that looks like for you. In the meantime, I shall be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're talking about Jesus and resting. And I want to, if you want to have a little game with yourself, have a little guess what Bible verse you think we're going to pick for this one. But in the meantime, thank you for listening. I shall look forward to catching up with you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.